Welcome back, students, to the last session of Structure of Atoms. I'll just remind you, this is the last session. After this, the chapter Structure of Atom is completed. So I request all of you to take down the notes of all the 6 sessions. You need not take down the time slot at the same time slot given to you, students. You can even watch the videos later. Any doubt, you can go back to the videos. Wherever you want, you can pause it. Whichever points you want to take down clearly. So by the end of the day, you finish your classwork. So whatever notes you need to make, finish off it. Okay, you need not wait for the same slot. Any time slot, whenever you feel free, watch the video and take down the points. So let me start with the last session. Till last class, we finished with 4 quantum numbers. Principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, magnetic quantum number, and spin quantum number. Principal quantum numbers indicates the main energy level or the orbit of the electron. Azimuthal quantum number indicates the subshell or shape of the orbital. Magnetic quantum number indicates the orientation of electron. And spin quantum number indicates the spin of the electron. Orientation of electron in the suborbital. Magnetic quantum number indicates the orientation of the electron in the orbital. Then fourth one, that is spin quantum number, indicates the spin of the electron, whether the electron has clockwise spin or anti-clockwise spin. Now using these 4 numbers, we understood how to write the electronic configuration. Rules to write the electronic configuration. Okay, so by the end of the session, I will teach you how to write the electronic configuration of any elements. Okay, next. To continue with the rules for electronic configuration, we need to know the stability of half-filled and fully filled orbitals. Okay, in general, elements containing half-filled p orbital. How many p orbitals we have? We have 3 p orbitals. Okay, 3 p orbitals can hold how many electrons? 3 p orbitals can hold 6 electrons. So capacity of p orbital is 6. If you remember, capacity of 2 orbital is 2. Sorry, capacity of s orbital is 2. Capacity of p orbital is 6. Okay, if it is 3 electrons in the p orbital, it is half filled. Half of 6 is 3. So if p orbital contains 3 electrons, then it is half-filled configuration. If p orbital has 6 electrons, then it is completely filled p orbital. So half-filled p orbital and completely filled p orbitals are more stable as compared to electrons containing partially filled p orbitals. Okay, this you can understand with an example. See, let us take nitrogen. Its atomic number is 7. How to write the configuration? 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. So from now on, please remember, students, whenever you need to write the electronic configuration, you should remember Hofbauer's rule or n plus n rule. So when you start writing the configuration, take down the energy level 1s, 2s, 2p, which we saw in the Hofbauer's rule. If you have taken down in your books, go back and see. You would have taken Hofbauer's rule. You would have written the energy of the orbital. Arrange the orbitals in the increasing order of their energy levels. So take down that levels. Okay. Then start distributing the electrons. Electronic configuration is nothing but distribution of electron in the orbitals. Okay, so when you take n is equal to 7, 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Observe here, 2p3, p is 3. P is 3 means it is half filled. Take neon. Neon has 10. So how do you write the configuration for neon? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. 2p6. It is completely filled. So nitrogen is stable with this configuration. Neon is stable with this configuration. So what do we understand here? Half filled and fully filled orbitals are more stable. Okay. Similarly, elements containing half-filled d orbitals and completely filled d orbitals are more stable. Now, Mn25, if you take manganese, argon, 3d5, 4s2, half filled of d. How many orbitals you have for d? 5 d orbitals you have. What is the capacity of d orbital? Capacity of d orbital is 10 electrons. Of the 10, 5 is there, which means it is half filled. 5 electron in d orbital means half filled. 10 electron in d orbital means it is completely filled. So if you can see the configuration of manganese, it is 3d5 4s2. Okay. Zinc 30. It is 3d10 4s2. Argon 3d10 4s2. So d orbital 5 electrons and 10 electrons are half filled and completely filled configuration. So from this we understand any element with half filled configuration and completely filled configuration are stable compared to partially filled orbitals. Compared to elements containing partially filled orbitals, half filled configuration and fully filled configuration of elements are more stable. Hope this is clear to you. This is one of the rules for writing the electronic configuration. So we always try to prefer half filled state or completely filled state of orbitals rather than partially filled state, because partially filled state is not stable. It is not stable enough. Okay. So this is what, please take down this example, students. For half filled P and completely filled P, you are taking the example of nitrogen and neon. For half filled D and completely filled D, you are taking the example of manganese and zinc. Okay. Next. Note, P has 3 suborbitals, can hold 6 electrons. That's what I told you. The capacity of p orbital is 6. Okay. In that, 3 is half filled, 6 is fully filled. Similarly, D has 5 suborbital, can hold 10 electrons. D can hold 10 electrons. So D5 will be half filled, D5 will be half filled, and D10 will be completely filled. Okay. Next. The stability of such configuration has been assigned to the following fact. Symmetrical distribution of electrons. The completely filled or half-filled subshells have symmetrical distribution of electrons in them. Symmetrical distribution leads to stability, and therefore these configurations are more stable. Why the half-filled and fully filled are more stable? They have symmetrical distribution of electrons. Since they have symmetrical distribution, it leads to stability. Next, energy exchange. When 2 or more electrons with same spin are present in the orbitals of same energy of a subshell, these electrons can exchange their positions. When 2 or more electrons with same spin are present in the orbitals of same energy of a subshell, these electrons can exchange their positions. The exchange of electrons leads to release of energy. The exchange of electrons leads to release of energy, which we call it as exchange energy, decreasing the energy of the atom and increasing the stability. Students, make a note, if the energy of an atom decreases, atom becomes stable. So decreasing the energy of the atom and increasing its stability. The number of exchange that can take place is maximum when the subshell is either half filled or completely filled. Therefore, the energy released is maximum and stability is also maximum. Hope these 2 points you understood. These 2 points we are explaining for what was there in the earlier configuration. Okay, so keeping these 2 things in mind, that is, we try for half filled configuration and we try for fully filled configuration. Why? Because of symmetrical distribution of electrons. Second one, energy of exchange takes place. So when it go for half filled and fully filled configuration, energy of exchange electron takes place. energy of electrons leads to release of energy. So energy of the atom decreases, therefore stability of atom increases. So that is why every element will try to attain either fully filled configuration or half filled configuration instead of partially filled configuration. Okay, so keeping this in mind, we'll go for the next example. We have anomalous electronic configuration of copper and chromium. If you see here, two elements you have taken, copper and chromium, because they don't have the configuration which is expected according to Hofbauer's rule. According to Hofbauer's rule, what we are trying to write the configuration, will not see the configuration in this. That is why it is called anomalous electronic configuration. Why? Why do you have a special configuration for copper and chromium? It is because of these facts. Because of symmetrical distribution, because of exchange energy. Okay, since we want symmetrical distribution and exchange of energy takes place, we have special configuration for chromium and copper. Let us see the special configuration. In chromium, one electron is shifted from 4s to 3d, so that 3d and 4s orbital becomes half filled, whereby stability increases. See the expected configuration. Expected configuration of chromium. Chromium is atomic number is 24. Its configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. Students, just see me writing the configuration. Same way you also should practice writing configuration. Okay, so 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d4 and 4s2. If you remember Hofbauer's rule, according to Hofbauer's rule, 4s and 3d, okay, while writing, we'll write it like this. 4s should be complete, 4s2, 3d4. Now if you can see, all these are completely filled. Till 3p6 it is completely filled, 4s2 is completely filled, but 3d is partially filled. Now what happens here is, one electron from 4s shifts to 3d. One electron from 4s shifts to 3d. So what happens? What happens to configuration now? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d5 and 4s1. Now when one electron went to D, D also became half filled, S also became half filled. Which you prefer? Do you prefer half filled for both, or do you prefer completely filled for one and partially filled for other? We prefer half filled for both. So that is why the expected configuration for chromium is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d5 and 4s1. So what happens is, both the orbitals here becomes half filled. So half filled will be stable. Here what happens? 4s is filled completely, but D is partially filled. In this case, the entire configuration, if you see, it is either fully filled or half filled. Therefore, which is the better configuration for chromium? This one. The second configuration is better than the first one. Same way, similarly in copper, one electron is shifted from 4s to 3d orbital, so that 3d orbital becomes completely filled and 4s is half filled, because of which stability increases. If you can see, expected copper configuration for copper, 1s2, it is 29, atomic number is 29, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d9 and 4s2. If you can see here, 3d9 is partially filled, but all other orbitals are completely filled. But see what happens in the next case. Copper 29, here one electron from 4s is going to 3d. So what happens here? It becomes 3d10, 4s1. So let us see the configuration. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d10, 4s1. So by pushing the electron from 4s to 3d, 3d became completely filled, 4s became partially filled. If you see the entire configuration for copper, either it is fully filled or it is half filled. So which is better configuration? The second one. Second configuration is stable when compared to the first configuration. So in the exam, students, definitely they'll ask you to write the configuration of either chromium or copper, because normally student tend to forget this configuration. They'll just write the configuration like this. Always they'll write the first configuration, which is totally wrong. They have anomalous configuration, different configuration. Why the configuration is different from the normal? Because of this half filled and completely filled state. So in the exam, students, please remember to write this configuration for chromium and this configuration for copper. Okay, definitely they'll ask for 1 mark. Write the electronic configuration of chromium or write the electronic configuration of copper. So never forget, students, remember these two: anomalous behavior for, anomalous electronic configuration for chromium and copper. Okay, next. Till there we finish with the theory part of this chapter. We'll move on to the problems. Basically, there are only 3 types of problems in this chapter. So let us start solving one by one. First problem: an electron of mass 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 kg moves at nearly speed of light using a velocity of 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. Calculate the wavelength of the electron. Now students, this problem I have done it in detail, showing you what are the steps you should follow. But from next problem onward, I'll not do this. This I taught you to how to solve the problem whenever asked. This is the right way to answer a problem. What do you do first? First, list out the known quantities and plan the problem. Okay, now what are the quantities you know? You know the mass of electron. You know Planck's constant. Normally they'll give Planck's constant in the problem. If not, you can just by heart 6.6262 into 10 power minus 34. You know the velocity of electron. What is the velocity given here? 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. Then what do you need to calculate? Just read the problem and see what you need to calculate. You need to calculate wavelength of electron. So write unknown as wavelength. What is the next step? Next step, you should think about what is the formula you need to use. So step 2, apply de Broglie equation. Lambda is equal to h by mv. That's the formula you're going to use. Third step, substitute and calculate. You know all the terms. Lambda is equal to, h, 6.626 into 10 power minus 34 divided by what is the mass, 9.11 into 10 power minus 31 kg into what is the velocity, 3 into 10 power 8 meters per second. Calculate and find out the final answer. It is 2.42 into 10 power minus 12. So students, how do I do this now? Just take 6.626 divided by 9.11 divided by 3. Okay, now what happens to the power? Here it is 10 power minus 31. Here it is plus 8. Minus 31 plus 8. What happens? Minus 31 plus 8 will be minus how much? 31 minus 8. Yeah, 3. So it will be 10 power minus 13. Okay, so here you get 10 power minus 13. If you go to the numerator, it becomes plus 13. So minus 34, the minus 34 plus 13 will be minus 11. So moving the decimals, finally you get 2.42 into 10 power minus 12 meter. So this part of it, students, practice doing it with a calculator. One more thing I need to tell you, in your PU classes, you can use calculators, not scientific calculators, ordinary calculators. So students, please solve this using ordinary calculator. So how do you normally solve a problem? List out the quantities given, plan the formula. What do you need to find out? Write down the unknown quantity, apply the formula, substitute all the things given and find out the final what you need to calculate. Okay. Next, calculate the wave number and frequency of LO radiation having wavelength 5800 Armstrong. So we'll go for the solution. What is given? Given is lambda 5800 Armstrong, which is equal to 5000 into 10 power minus 10 meter. You have to convert Armstrong to meter. So what to calculate? You have to calculate mu bar and mu. Okay. So mu bar is equal to 1 by lambda, which is 1 by 5800 into 10 power 10. Please take down this formula slowly, students. If you want, you can pause here, video, you can pause here, take down the question, full solution, and then go for the next slide. Okay. So whenever you find formula, students, you pause the slide. Complete formula yavaga barato. When you get the complete formula and the full problem appears on the screen, pause it, take down the problem, and then go proceed with the further video. Right. So now here, how do you find out mu bar? Mu bar is equal to 1 by lambda, which is equal to 1 by 5800 into 10 power 10. So it will be 1724 into 10 power 6 per meter. If you do this with the calculator, automatically you will get this. Similarly, what is mu? Mu is equal to C by lambda, which is 3 into 10 power 8 divided by 5800 into 10 power, sorry students, is plus 10. So it is 5.172 into 10 power minus 14 per second. Make this as plus 10, students. Okay, 10 power 14 per second. Okay, next. What are the frequency and wavelength of photon emitted during the transition of n is equal to 5 state to n is equal to 2 state in the hydrogen atom? Also, solution given n is equal to 5 and n is equal to 2. Now we have to use Rydberg's equation here. So students, remember Rydberg's equation. Delta E is equal to RH into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. Delta E is equal to 2.18 into 10 power minus 18. Open the bracket. What is n1? n1 is 5 square. n2 is 2 square. Okay. So delta E becomes, you have to solve this equation. Delta E becomes minus 4.58 into 10 power minus 19. Now, how do I solve this? If you take this to LCM, you have to take LCM will be 25 and 4. 25 and 4, LCM will be 100. So this becomes 4. 4 minus 25. 4. Then multiply this with 2.18. So the final answer is minus 4.58 into 10 power minus 19 joules. The frequency of photon is given by mu into delta E by H. So it will be 4.58 into 10 power minus 19 divided by 6.626 into 10 power minus 34. So final answer will be 6.91 into 10 power 14 hertz. Okay. So students, I advise you, solve this slowly, divide this, take this to the numerator. 10 power minus 34, if it goes to the numerator, it becomes 10 power plus 34. Accordingly solve and get the final answer. If at all, if you people have not understood these problems, please make a note, students. When we can see, or you can ask me personally, or when we come to the offline classes, make no note of all this. There we can again definitely the entire chapter what we are doing now, we will definitely revise after you come back to the college. So when you start coming to the college, make a note of all these students. So whichever doubt you have, wherever doubt you have, personally we can explain you when you come to the offline classes. Okay. So or immediately if you want to know, call the teachers to their personal numbers. Call them and try to clarify your doubts. Okay. Don't put it in the group, students. It will create a big nuisance there, because a lot of information, important information will be there in the group. Any problems, any doubt, go to the personal number and ask the teachers there. Or if not, make a note when you come for the offline classes. There also you can discuss with the teachers and get to clarify your doubts. Okay. Next. So next is lambda. Lambda is equal to C by mu, which is equal to 3 into 10 power 8 divided by 6.91 into 10 power 14. That is mu frequency. So final answer will be 454 nanometers. Okay. So this problem is very important, students. Just take down this. Try solving this. Any doubt, again I'll repeat, you can ask later with us. Okay. Next, calculate the energy associated with first orbit of helium. What is the radius of the orbit? We'll go for the solution. This is the equation, students. So take down the equation. En is equal to minus 2.18 into 10 power minus 18 z square by n square. Z is the atomic number, n is the orbit. So n for helium, n is equal to 1. Z is 2. Atomic number of helium is 2. So if you substitute, E1 is equal to minus 2.18 into 10 power 18, 2 square by L square is equal to minus 8.72 into 10 power minus 18. Okay. So the radius of the orbit is given by Rn is equal to 0.0529. This is the formula, student. These two are the ready formula for hydrogen atom. You can take down this formulas. Rn is equal to 0.0529 nanometer n square by z. Okay, so n is equal to 1, z is equal to 2. Substitute 0.0529 into 1 square by 2, it is 0.02645 nanometer. So please students, take down the take down this problem as it is. Okay, so you try solving this using the calculators. Okay, you should know to use the calculator by now. Okay, you can use the calculator in the PU level. Okay, next. Let us now study the electronic configuration of elements, how to write electronic configuration. Okay, let us take the first element. It is hydrogen. Atomic number is 1. Now, before you start writing this, I advise you to write the energy level at the top of this. Take down the energy level here. 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 4s, 3d. If you take till there, it's more than enough. Or how do you write? 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 3d, 4s. 4s and 3d. You write this and keep it, and then start writing the configuration. If you take the first element, hydrogen, it has only one electron. So where will the one electron go? Which is the first energy level? 1s. Put one electron there. This is how you have to write. 1s superscript 1. Take for helium, atomic number 2, 1s2. Lithium, atomic number is 3, 1s2, 2s1. Beryllium, atomic number 4, 1s2, 3s2. Next, boron, atomic number 5, 1s2, 2s2 is over. Capacity of s orbital is 2. So 2, until the electron is filled, completely filled, will not go to the next orbital. So 2s is filled. We are going to next one, 2p1. That will be the fifth electron. Carbon, atomic number 6, 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. Okay, seventh one, nitrogen. So if you remember, I started this session with nitrogen configuration NP3. Okay, 1s2, 2s2. The remaining 3 will be P3. So, but when you are writing this P3, students, please write this way. This is according to Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity. P has 3 suborbitals. What you should do, give 1 electron to each, because pairing will not happen until you allot it singly. So the remaining 3 electrons of nitrogen, you should write it as 2px1, 2py1 and 2pz1. So this will become the half-filled configuration. So this is how you have to write the configuration for nitrogen. Next, let us go for 8, oxygen. So it is 1s2, 2s2. See here, 2px2 we have to write. This totally you have 4 electrons here for p orbital. 2p4 will be there. How do we show that 4? 2px2, 2py1, 2pz1. Fluorine is 9, 1s2, 2s2, 2px2, 2py2, 2pz1. Next, neon, 10, 1s2, 2s2, 2px2, 2py2, 2pz2. If you can see, all are filled. Totally you have 6 electron in P, 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6 electron, 2 electron in S, 1 S electron, 2 in S, 2 in S. So entire configuration of neon, if you see, it is filled. What about for sodium? Sodium is 11, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Okay, this all together now I have written 6 because I have shown it completely filled. So it is 3s1. Next, for magnesium it is 12, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2. So here it is completely filled. Now coming to aluminium, 13, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2. Next level after 3s is 3p. So 3p will be 3p1. See, in 3p, I can keep on adding 6 electrons, which means I'll get 6 elements for 3p. Okay, 3p1 you have for aluminium. For silicon, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p2. Okay, second electron will go to 3p2. Now here students, I have written 14 elements. The remaining elements you can write on your own. Take this as homework. I want each one of you to write the configuration for 1 to 30 elements in your book. 1 to 30 elements in your book. So till 14 I have shown you how to write. From 15 to 30 you should write on your own and it should be there in your notes. So when you start writing, you'll understand what is the difficulty you find. But again, I'll tell you, wherever you find any difficulty, make a note. We will discuss when you come for the offline classes. Or if you want to know the answer immediately, want to clarify your doubt immediately, then you can personally message to me. I'll help you. Okay. So this is the configuration for 14 elements, student. The remaining till 30 you're going to write on your own. Okay. This configuration I showed you already, but I'll just quickly tell you. If you can see chromium and copper, chromium, the correct configuration is this. I've told you beginning itself, this is the correct configuration for chromium. You should make it as 4s1 3d5. Similarly for copper, you should make it as 4s1 3d10. Okay, students. So here I think we finished with the chapter. Take down these 3 questions, mention 4 quantum numbers, write the electronic configuration of copper, solve all the problem which is there on the slide in your book. Whatever problem is there in the slide, please make it in a book, write it in assignment also. Write it in classwork book as well as assignment book. Okay, so with this, the chapter of atomic structure is over, students. Okay, so next class we'll start with another new chapter. So totally 6 sessions you add for this chapter. I advise all of you to take down the entire points which is there on the slide in your book. That itself will become the notes for you, which will be useful for you to study for your exams. Okay, so with this, I end the 6th session, students. Okay, next session, that is next class of chemistry, you will start with a new chapter. So this will be the last of this chapter, last session of this chapter. So again, I'll advise you, write all the points which is there in these slides. You need not, like when you'll have time even to watch the video later also. So later watch it, and whenever you find it difficult, pause it. Whatever is there in the slide, take down and then proceed further. So do it leisurely. You need not do everything in a hurry. Plan your watching the videos. When you're watching, have a book and a pen with you. So with all this, I think I'll end the session, students. Okay, see you later. Thank you.